We all know the story of the Titanic, right? But it's so much more than just a shipwreck. It's a tale of incredible ambition, of overconfidence, and a whole chain of fatal mistakes that turned a celebrated maiden voyage into one of history's most infamous disasters. So let's unpack the true story behind what really happened.
It all kicked off with this one, now infamous line, "This ship is unsinkable." And get this, that wasn't just some boastful passenger. That came directly from the vice president of the White Star Line, the company that built the thing. That kind of supreme confidence, well, it really set the stage for the whole tragedy.
And this number right here, this is what was really at stake. Around 2,200 people were on that ship. You had some of the wealthiest people on the planet, and you also had families and immigrants all hoping for a new life in America. Every single decision, every mistake from here on out was going to be measured in human lives.
Okay, so before we get to the disaster, you really have to understand the hype. Back in 1912, the Titanic wasn't just another ship. It was a symbol of human achievement, a true marvel of modern engineering that had the entire world buzzing.
I mean, just look at this thing. It was basically a floating palace. We're talking 269 meters long. That's almost 3 football fields. And the cost? In today's money, that's around $400 million. It had a heated swimming pool, incredible Turkish baths, a full gym, even a squash court. This was the absolute peak of luxury and technology for its time.
So where did that unsinkable idea even come from? Well, it wasn't just marketing hype. It was based on this brand new cutting-edge safety feature, 16 watertight compartments built into the hull. The thinking was that these sealed sections would contain any flooding. In fact, the ship was literally designed to stay afloat even if 4 of them filled completely with water, a scenario that seemed pretty much impossible.
But of course, that legend was about to collide with a very cold, very hard reality, right in the middle of the North Atlantic. So let's get into how this incredible ship met its end on that fateful night.
7. Just let that sink in for a second. That's how many iceberg warnings the Titanic's radio operators received on April 14th, its very last day. They got clear, repeated warnings that there was a massive ice field dead ahead. And you know what they did? They didn't slow down.
And when the end came, it was just terrifyingly fast. At 11:39 p.m., the lookout spots the iceberg. Just 1 minute later, they hit it. About 40 minutes after that, the distress call goes out, but the nearest ship that responds, the Carpathia, is hours away. In less than 3 hours, the unsinkable ship was gone, vanished beneath the waves.
And here it is, the fatal flaw. Remember that design that could survive 4 flooded compartments? The iceberg didn't tear one giant hole in the ship. Instead, it scraped along the side, punching a series of smaller holes that flooded 6 compartments. And that was the tipping point. The bow got so heavy with water that it started to dip, and then the water just spilled over the tops of the walls into the next compartment, and the next, like a horrifying domino effect. The ship was doomed.
So that brings us to the real question, doesn't it? How did one iceberg take down this technological marvel? Well, the truth is, the iceberg was just the weapon. It wasn't the real cause. The sinking of the Titanic wasn't a single accident. It was the final result of a catastrophic chain of human failures.
And that's exactly what we're going to dive into now. This story isn't about bad luck. It's about bad decisions, one after another, that created a cascade of errors and made the disaster not just possible, but pretty much inevitable.
The list of what went wrong is just staggering. First, they kept going at high speed despite all those warnings. Then, there's evidence a steering error might have actually made the collision worse. On top of all that, they didn't even have enough lifeboats for everyone. And the lifeboat drill scheduled for that very day, it was canceled because everyone felt so safe, the first lifeboats were launched half empty. It's just one failure after another.
So you might be asking, why the reckless speed? What was the rush? Well, this quote gives us a pretty big clue. The chairman of the White Star Line was actually on board, and apparently he was pressuring the captain to go faster. The goal wasn't just to arrive in New York, it was to set a new speed record and prove the Titanic was the biggest and the fastest ship in the world. And just when you think this story can't get any more tragic, it does, because there's another story from that night, the story of a nearby ship that saw the distress signals but did nothing.
This part of the story is just gut-wrenching. The SS Californian was stopped for the night only about 37 kilometers away. Its crew could literally see the distress rockets the Titanic was firing. But the radio operator had already gone to bed for the night, and their captain?
He just dismissed the rockets, assuming it was the rich passengers on the fancy new ship partying. A rescue was within sight, but it never came.
You know, for all the horror of that night, some good did come from it. This one single disaster ended up forcing fundamental changes that have saved countless lives and completely reshaped maritime safety forever. The sinking shocked the world so much that it forced immediate action. The International Ice Patrol was created to track icebergs in the North Atlantic. New global safety standards were established, and most importantly, a rule that seems so obvious to us now was put into place. Every ship must carry enough lifeboats for every single person on board.
But for the 1,500 people who went into the Atlantic that night, these changes came too late. And we have to remember the brutal conditions. The water was 2 degrees below freezing. In water that cold, hypothermia would take your life in just a matter of minutes.
For over 70 years, the ship was lost to the world, a ghost in the deep. Then, in 1985, the oceanographer Robert Ballard finally located the wreckage. It was resting in 2 pieces on the ocean floor, nearly 4 kilometers beneath the surface.
And here's a final thought. Today, the wreck itself is literally disappearing. Deep-sea bacteria are slowly eating it away, and some scientists think it could be completely gone in just another few decades. So the physical ship may be vanishing, but its powerful lessons about arrogance, about cutting corners, and about what happens when we think we're invincible, well, those lessons are as solid as ever.